Yo, what's up, all my model minorities? What's going on? This is yo man Kuro, sitting here with yo man
Shiro, back in business, guys. How you guys doing today? How are you guys doing? How you doing, Kuro-chan?
I'm doing pretty good, man. What's today's topic?
Well, today's topic was that I was just my business a couple of weeks ago, and one of my friends texted me an interesting symposium that the Japanese American was putting on, and it was titled Japanese Warbride. Now, I didn't go to a symposium, so I'm not going to criticize the symposium itself. But what I'd like to discuss about is just the general idea of Japanese Warbride, and why is it good or bad within our own Japanese American community itself. So I just want to hear your opinion, Kuro-chan. What's your first thought when you heard that symposium that was put on?
I thought it was along the lines of what the Japanese American Museum would put on.
Okay, and why so?
I guess I could call them out. I feel like that's what kind of started the whole trend with this whole fetishization over Asian women. It's almost like a war trophy, if you think about it. A spoil of wars, women.
Yeah. I feel what you're saying. I kind of feel along the lines.
Maybe it's been more civilized or Christianized in a sense, to where they were actually married, in a sense, like under matrimony, instead of like they're just taken and held as like a sex slave or something.
Well, yeah, it's a nice way of sex slave, comfort woman. No, I would say that I definitely understand what you're saying, and I think that what's even worse is that I think for them to put on a show like that, and I understand that these are that there's a lot of people. I won't say a lot. There's people out there that are offsprings or kids who are the product of Warbride itself, and so I understand that. My only qualm is that again it's that it's that mentality that that again that yes, who came to the rescue? The GIs, the white GIs, the black GIs, more or less, to rescue some of these supposedly, no, I must say supposedly poor Japanese women who lost maybe their husbands, their boyfriends during the war itself, and so some of the from my understanding is that some of the Warbrides wasn't able to get here because of illegal immigration, and so a lot of the GIs petitioned their congressmen to let these Japanese Warbrides in the United States and to live with their husband. I mean, go figure, right?
Well, yeah, like I said, it started a trend. I mean, it started changing also a lot of other laws, like
you couldn't
even
marry
back then.
outside.
Yeah, you couldn't marry outside your race.
Right.
I mean, that whole movie Loving,
Right.
where that white guy married a black lady. I mean, it was still in a sense like a taboo back then, kind of unheard of to have like a interracial relationship.
Right.
But that being fought for so hard, I mean, it just started, like I said, a trend of all the other wars be post World War II, like the Korean War. How many Korean War brides came up after that?
The
Vietnam War. I mean, Jesus, how many?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, for me, it's kind of a touchy subject because I have relatives, Japanese Americans, who went to Japan post-war during the occupation, and they themselves married a Japanese local. I don't know, I guess you could call that a war bride in a sense, but it's just you're marrying your enemy combatants women or whatever, or somebody from the opposite side.
Right. Right.
In a sense.
Right. Your opposition.
I mean, yeah, whether you're at peace or not, there's still that bad blood there.
Correct.
But since my relatives was Japanese American, I think it was like an easier transition. But I don't really see like it being totally as different in a sense if it was a white guy or whatever. I mean.
Right. No, I agree with you that, and we're not saying that the kids or the product of these Warbrides are bad people. No, what we're talking about is, generally speaking, is again this idea of that Western culture that comes to the rescue to save these poor Japanese women during hardship. I'm not saying that they're putting a light on it. They're just what they're presenting is just facts, history. And I personally understand that. I don't like it personally.
Yeah, it's hard. Like I said, it's hard to watch.
But it is hard to watch because if you've seen some of these GI military films that teaches or portrays some of these Japanese women, or how they treat these Japanese women as domesticated human beings, if you show that shit today, oh my gosh, the feminists would be an uproar. But again, back in the days, it was acceptable because the white, the Western culture defeated Japan, so they feel that overall they can do and dictate whatever they want. And it's just like, what? No, that ain't cool. No, that's not cool. And you're right. It started that yellow fever trend. That the idea of Asian women, whether you're Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Filipino, Vietnam, and Thai, that these Asian women are just easy. They're domesticated, as I want to say.
Well, I guess, in a sense, culturally, Japan kind of always kept the women down, 10 steps behind, type of bullshit. There was a place in Japanese society for the woman, right? And it wasn't like
right. So
as equal as the man.
Okay, well, true, because the women and men play their part.
Yes. Okay. So my point being is that women acted like how Western men perceived how women should be, whether it was being Japanese or not, but they saw the femininity in Japanese women, the American GIs. And, at that time, women were kind of breaking the mold of what like what true feminism is. They were having more empowerment. They were kind of talking out of place. I guess in a sense, they're kind of being like I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
How kind of she was like, going around Ricky Ricardo's back all the time, thinking that she was, one step ahead, but she was, causing all these harebrained schemes and right. Shit like that. It was kind of like a beginning of that, and a lot of Western men didn't like that, especially American men, right. And they saw this type of like, yeah, I guess you could say domesticatedness about Japanese women, but I guess it was more in a sense of like a real type of love, because it wasn't like it's not like they picked him out of the street and married him. It was actually they actually fell in love with some of these women.
Some yeah.
I mean, they just like what happened after the war. Remember how like a lot of the guys who were talking the most mad shit about Japan were the ones that were converting themselves once they were occupied, were stationed and occupied Japan. They were, learning karate and shit. And, next thing you know, they're adopting Japanese culture, wearing like Japanese clothes and sandals and shit. And, they have a Japanese wife, and they, in a sense, themselves became Japanese. Yeah. But I could see where you hate that whole notion of, them coming over and taking our women and.
But now that you hit the point, it's like a trophy. It's like, yes, I destroy your country. Now I'm gonna take one more thing, a precious thing, your woman. I mean, that's demeaning.
Well, I guess that's why they put the whole emphasis on Warbride. Because if it was the opposite, which it was, if on the opposite spectrum, Japan was taking like sexual slaves, comfort women, right?
Well, yeah, but they're getting criticized for that. Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, but they weren't marrying these women.
that was the only difference was, yes, Japanese were doing somewhat the exact same thing. The only thing was that they didn't marry the women. They just said, okay, thank you very much, and move on.
But no, they did not say thank you very much and move on. No, man, let's get it straight.
Yeah.
It was pretty brutal. I mean, what the Americans did, it wasn't as brutal or sexually aggressive as what the Japanese did.
Okay, that's fine.
Let's be fair. I mean, come on. I mean, if it was the other way around, would the Japanese people be marrying American women, or would they be taking them and putting them in comfort stations?
Okay, so let me ask you a question then. If the table were turned, if let's just say Japan didn't surrender, it was a draw, and they went to United States and took, Warbrides white women, do you think there would be a symposium or a lecture about those type of events?
Oh yeah, those.
Do you think you don't think there'll be an uproar? You don't think everything will be smooth? Everything? Oh yeah, sure, no, but it's part of war.
Well, yeah, man, they already have symposium with that. It's called the Comfort Women League or some shit like that. That's why they're putting up statues. That's what I'm saying. That's what made it a little different in a sense, and it's another little nudge in the face in Japan. I'm gonna give you that. It's a little like, hey man, at least we married the hoes.
Okay, I won't say hoes, but
at least we married
the women.
At least we married the girls. Right. I mean, at least we didn't go there, kidnap women, and rape them.
Okay.
I mean, there was cases of that in Japan too, but I'm just saying, when the Americans came, they didn't do exactly what the Japanese people thought they were gonna do. And in a sense, it was also another sense of fascination towards them too. I mean,
yeah, I know, and I just feel that I think again, Japan gets the bad end of the apple. We do somewhat similar, we get crucified for it. I mean, yes, I think rightly so. But if American does it, it's like, oh, let's have a symposium. Let's talk about the challenges and the struggles. I'm like here, okay, how nice, how interesting. That why not talk about but why talk about why do these women had to go to marry these GIs? Was it necessity? Was it because most of the men were killed during the war? What was the reasoning behind it?
Well, they probably explained it over at the symposium. I mean,
no, they did, and I'm pretty sure they did. I just feel like again it's like we can't get a fair shake. We do something a little bit more extreme, we get crucified. Rightly for so. This thing, it's like glossed over. It's like, oh, okay, we were victors. We helped these women out of poverty and things like that, and to justify our action. It's like we can't get a fair shake. That's all it is, Kudo-chan.
No, I know. I mean, I could see if the roles were reversed. Okay, a little serious. If the roles were reversed and somehow it wasn't like a draw, but Japan won the war, in a sense, and they came over here and they occupied, would they be as how should I put it, restraint as the Americans would be, or would they be going on a rampage of
I don't know. I cannot.
Would they turn like Los Angeles into Nanking? I mean, it's hard to say. Or would
it's
they?
Hard to say. I don't know. I wouldn't.
Or would they somehow express their influence to the people that they're occupying to the point where they win their hearts and minds, that American women would find Japanese soldiers as like a better a better suited mate.
That's true. I guess what troubles me, and this is just personally from me, that what bothers me a lot is that it's the notion that these white people or these Western people could go to Japan, and it's somewhat Japanese people's fault of worshiping them and to idolizing them. But they can go to Japan and they can flaunt their gaijin card or their foreigner card and say, hey, and then from there people will be flocked to them. They'll be gogging over mad girls and things like that. And it's that whole notion that they should cater to me as a Western person, whether you're a woman or a guy, that I know better than your ass. My culture is much more logical than your culture, and that mentality really bugs the shit out of me, and that's why hearing this kind of symposium, it's like it scratches it scratches my nerves again. That's where it is. It's just that these people don't understand that Japanese culture is Japanese culture, whether you like it or not. It may not be perfect. I get that. It's not no it's perfect. That culture is not perfect, but they make do with it. They do the best they can, what they have. You may not like it, but it's theirs. And for you to come there and start dictating or fucking twittering and complaining your fucking shit out of it, solve it. How do you solve it? How do you get away with it? Rather than bitching about it and thinking that, this is, no, this is not the way to do it. My culture's way. Just because your country does it doesn't mean every country has to have the same kind of mentality or the same kind of shit that you do. That's what irks me. That's all it is. I'm just saying, this, it's I won't say it's gloss. It's not glorifying it, but it's like saying, hey, this is what happened in war. Whether you like it or not. And there was no opposing views, meaning that there was no opposite. No, there was no like saying, yeah, I didn't like. No, the Warbride wasn't a good idea, or these GIs came for a purpose. Free fucking sex or free fucking domesticated women, easy to get. Because of the situation itself, and I'm pretty sure not all of them think that way, but I would say a good majority thought that way. What's funny is that they didn't give statistics about how many divorces that occurred because of Warbride. That was never given. And that to me is the interesting fact. And what was the reasoning behind them coming here? Was it partly because they actually like the person, or was it to say, what, I fucking hate this, this country's destroyed, I want to start a new life somewhere else. That's fine, I can understand that. But
it was economically viable for them.
Probably so.
Who's to say like it was? But then again, Japan was being bombarded with American propaganda at that time.
Yeah.
It was like America's way or the highway a lot of times. Everything was on the radio, TV, newspaper was all controlled and censored by either general headquarters or by Japanese people under the yoke of American military.
Or the MacArthur.
Yeah, you could see, I could see how that generation of women was like heavily influenced, especially during that time. It was like the 50s. It was like the swinging 50s when people were like, driving around in nice, cars, and there was all that teeny bopper or the sock hop type bullshit, like Happy Days.
Something like that, right?
They promoted that image pretty well. America did. Right. That whole, it lasted until the 80s.
Yeah.
Right? That whole culture of, the Happy Days culture, the fawns and the little, dresses and stuff, and
the 50s,
Minnie Mouse type stuff. They were dressing like that until the 1980s.
No, I agree with you on that. I just want I'm interested of the audience who is listening. What is your thought about this Japanese war? What is are we right? Are we wrong? I mean, I would love to hear. I would love to hear your opinions on that. Please write. Please put in the comments below. I'd like to hear your thoughts and feelings about that topic. Because I don't know. I mean, am I wrong on this? Is Kuro-chan right? I mean,
No. Don't get me wrong. I feel you. Like I said, it's hard to watch, because in a sense, it's like watching somebody say that your value as a man
right.
is less than mine, because I'm able to come not only win a war, but win the hearts and mind of your women too. Right. Like, they didn't come and rape them, they came and married them. I mean, I don't know if it was the other way around. Would Japan be that noble and do the same thing too? But a lot of times they did. I'm throwing Japan under a bad bus, throwing Japan under the bus, because I've been told a lot of this shit from my Asian friends too. Who's to say that's not their government's propaganda as well? I mean, a lot of Japanese soldiers did marry within to the local people. I mean, after the war, they had the choice to either stay or go home. A lot of them stayed because they married into the population and just became Vietnamese,
right.
Malaysian, Thai, Chinese.
Part of the society itself.
Yeah, and a lot of the times the colonists, the people who weren't even military personnel, like the civilians, the settlers, they got left behind too.
Yeah.
And a lot of the women were left behind in China.
Yeah.
They're called the left behind wives. They have a Chinese name for that. And a lot of the Chinese men married the Japanese women that were left behind too.
Right.
So I mean, I know it's hard because we like to paint Japan with this like barbaric image of like, oh, they'll just rape women and they won't marry them. Right. Who's to say that they wouldn't either?
No, that's fair.
I mean, I kind of get what you're saying, but then there's also that idea of Japanese track record that has to come into play about what they did to,
right? Yeah.
They didn't do that. They didn't take Warbrides from China or anything, or from Korea. I mean, yeah, some of them did but marry into like the local populations, but it wasn't like a big deal like it was over here, because it was almost like within the same Asian race.
Yeah. Right
now we're talking about the reason why the Warbride is such a big issue is because it's an Asian woman and a white man, which pretty much was the genesis of this whole issue we're facing today, of white man's influence over Asian women.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see how it upsets you, because it all stems from this.
That's true.
It all stems from this.
Right.
I mean, even during the Filipino insurgency, people weren't like, oh, let's get ourselves some Filipino women,
right.
And that happened like 40 years before World War II.
Right.
This whole Asian theater or fixation on Asian people became a thing after World War II.
True. And again, as you said, it's that that superiority. It's that Western superior culture that's constantly driving some of these these Western people mentality to think the way they think, and to write comments, like stupid comments that fuck you Japanese guys, you guys suck, you guys don't know what they're talking about.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's because they won the war, and I think that's probably one of the stipulations that was written into the surrender draft or whatever. Maybe it was like, from here on, whatever, we could talk shit about you.
Right.
Right. But Japan, you can't do shit about it, because one, you don't have a military to back yourself up, right. But two, we took your balls and your women. I mean, it's it's almost like a medieval clause that they put on Japan.
Yeah.
It's outdated. It's what you do to like, conquered nations, not like a nation that you're trying to rebuild.
Yes, it is.
It's almost from like another imperial order imposing themselves on another imperial order.
You hit the nail on the head. It's that imperial, it's that colonization mentality that this is how we're gonna colonize your country itself. You should chop your balls off and take your women and say bye. But anyways, with that, we'll talk to you later.
Peace.